What's up, Liverpool fans? Welcome back to Yanks of the Cup. We are here for Friday's Final Word, open agenda episode. So we'll be talking about all the latest news and gossip surrounding Liverpool FC, and also, of course, always answering your questions and comments in the chat. We always appreciate you guys. We have three very special guests. We have Tommy Moran, one of our followers on Twitter, awesome supporter. Give him a follow if you haven't yet. And then also a new podcast that has just launched in the last couple of months. We have the Near Post podcast. Guys, thanks for joining us. If you guys haven't tuned in yet, go check out their podcast. Go give it a like and subscribe as well. If you like our show, you're going to love their show. Guys, thanks for joining us. How's everyone doing?
Good, yeah.
Good.
No,
Yeah,
just
great, mate. Yeah.
delight to be on. Much appreciated.
Oh, we appreciate it. Always like to support other podcasts and like always have a fan on. You know, we're a fan channel for a reason. Like to have a bunch of fans on and get your opinions. But a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of the new, a lot of good news finally surrounding this Liverpool team. It seems like we've been looking for it for a long time. J-Doc in the chat, what's up? Welcome back. We appreciate you. Lost ID as always. You are the absolute man. But anyway, guys, let's get right into it. And where I want to start off is just. Hey, good news. We're through the quarterfinals of the Champions League. 4 teams confirmed so far. The next 4 will be coming next week. But overall, I just want to get your guys' thoughts on our potential opponents, who you'd love to see, and maybe teams that you don't want to see. And Tommy, let's start with you, man. What are your thoughts on our potential matchups for next round?
I think you'd always love to see Porto because you know what that means. Every time we play Porto, we get to the final. Obviously, I think playing like we did on Wednesday night, we can beat anyone. But obviously, you'd like to avoid the likes of Bayern Munich, the PSG, just because of their sheer firepower. But you know, with Fab back in the 6, I think we can beat anyone. And it's Istanbul, magical number 7 to coming home, I believe.
Yeah,
I'd say Porto definitely. That's what I'd want next round.
Yeah, I completely agree. For me, I would love to see Porto back. I mean, I think obviously that'd be ideal. To be honest, I wouldn't hate to see Real Madrid either. I think that's a team that we would match up against great, and obviously we still have a lot of bad blood against them. So I would salivate at either Porto or them, to be honest. But Near Post guys, what do you guys think?
Let Peter go first on that one.
Yeah, I actually think, right, unpopular opinion, I think we destroy Borussia Dortmund if we came up against them. I just think I think they're an all-out attack kind of team, and they don't have that defense. I think we'll break them down easily, and I'd like to face them and Real Madrid. Obviously, they're missing loads of key players, and that squad's just been dismantled the last few months. Either of them two wouldn't mind coming up against. Wouldn't like to face Man City, definitely not, or Bayern again. All the big guns, you want to stay well clear of them, but Borussia Dortmund, I think boys would make light work of them.
I see that one's an interesting one for me. Well, Homie and I talked about them on our last episode because I feel like their struggles defensively obviously kind of fit right perfectly into what we're trying to do, and I think we'd be very dangerous there. But do you have any concern about a guy like Haaland going against our back line? I know Kabak and Phillips have played well recently, but they haven't really been tested with a ton of pace yet. And obviously, Haaland does a lot of everything. So does that concern you at all in that potential matchup, Peter?
Yeah and no. I just feel like Phillips and that they just kind of have the physical advantage on him. I think they can probably bully him. He's a bit of a younger striker, and he's not as cute maybe as like a Lewandowski or players of that kind of caliber have been around for years. I think Fabinho in the 6 as well just provides that extra cover we need. Yeah, of course he's going to be a threat. Nearly all the big teams have a threat, except for maybe Porto. But I think out of all the teams, they would be my favourites to get them.
Mm-hmm. All right. So far we got Porto shout. We got Borussia Dortmund shout. What do you guys think? What else? Who's next?
I wouldn't mind. I'm not saying Chelsea be a tough draw. I know they still have to go through. They've got Atletico next Wednesday, I think. But if they manage to squeeze through, I'd much rather get them Atletico. Put it that way. Like Chelsea are a good side, but I think after how we played against them last week or the week before, whenever that was, the 1-0 in Anfield, I think the boys they'd really want to get a nice bit of revenge there. Fabinho in the 6, I think would be totally different team. Don't get me wrong, Chelsea look a much better side under Tuchel, but I think in a Champions League matchup, I'd fancy us to sneak through.
Bold statements there. Like Andy Ryan, Haaland's overrated. Danny's is better. It's a bold statement there. Let's agree.
Very bold. Very bold. And J Doc here, I kind of agree. Dortmund score would be 16-13 of Liverpool in aggregate. Probably would be with how these teams have been defending lately. But Wahumi, what were your thoughts on all these guys' thoughts? I mean, we've got Chelsea shout, we got a Dortmund shout, Porto shout. What are your thoughts on that?
Obviously, I think the easiest paper is obviously Porto. So obviously we've got good history against them. I agree with them. I'd rather face Bayern, PSG, or City to like a semi-final or final and avoid them in the quarter-final. Because I think if we got to semi-final and we had to face them, I think we would raise our game against them, and know how to play them over two-legged ties, especially with the final so close. Quarter-finals, I'd rather not. Dortmund, I agree. It's Pete's shout that Dortmund are poor defensively, but you have to Sancho, Haaland. I can't remember. There was also got a young kid as well. Can't remember his name.
American.
Not Reina. I can't remember his name. He scored the youngest goal scorer recently for Dortmund, like 16-year-old, 17-year-old.
Bellingham. Jude Bellingham. No.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. They've got some good players. Good players.
Yeah, he's very good.
So, I would say this. We're going to get to the Phillips and Cabot later, but I would say this, that they weren't tested. As soon as they played against Leipzig, they weren't tested. Leipzig didn't have chances to get. The ball over the top or down the wing still caused them some issues. But I would go to say a better forward line would probably cause them a lot more trouble. I wouldn't be comfortable with K-Back and Phillips versus Lewandowski or Haaland, to be honest. That's from my opinion. Real Madrid, I'd love Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid are finished now. They're not as good as they used to be. And Chelsea as well. Chelsea beat us without Fabinho, in midfield. So, Liverpool were a different team with Fabinho.
No Jota as well.
Midfield. Yeah, and Henderson's back in April. So, beginning of April. So, it would be a completely different kettle of fish. Because it was too easy for Chelsea to cut through us that day. We were shocking that day. So, I would prefer Porto. I think that's the try, but I don't think we're going to get Porto. I think we're going to get one of Barcelona, a Bayern, PSG, or City. Just another draw. Liverpool don't have had any luck this season. And that's how it's going to be. City will get Porto. We'll get Bayern or PSG.
Yeah, definitely. And Dave, I assess with you. Yeah, fuck Atletico, 100%. Don't like those guys. Lost ID. He agrees with us. Bayern, City, PSG should be avoided. Too much pace for us at the moment. Completely agree with that assessment. I just think we'd really struggle with the pace that they have. And Ian Francis in here. Last thing Pep would want is to face Liverpool in the Champions League. I do kind of agree with that. I think Barcelona would not like to play us in the Man City would not like to play against us in the Champions League. All the pressure would be on them at that point. And I think that would fall right into our hands. It's tough to beat us over two legs. But speaking of that, the one thing that we always like to say on this podcast is when it comes to Liverpool's chances in the Premier League is dare to dream. Although we are shit right now in the Premier League, this team is built for Champions League football. I still think we have a chance to win this thing. Tommy, what are your thoughts? Do you think Liverpool has a legitimate shot to win the Champions League this year?
Yeah, definitely. As I said earlier, it's in Istanbul. We've got fond memories of Istanbul. So I don't see why we can't win it. The squad's good enough to win it, and we're made for knockout football. So, I've got a very good feeling about it this year. But
too many things lining up for us right now, man. Exactly.
Hopefully. But set yourself up for disappointment, don't you, sometimes? But I do think we'll win it. It's Istanbul. Anyway, you know what I mean? And it's Liverpool. It's just, it's made for us to win it this year. And then all them people that are giving it, and everyone's got mates and support other teams that are giving it in WhatsApp groups and things like that. It'd just be the most Liverpool thing to do, to be absolutely rubbish in the league and then go and win the Champions League.
Pretty consistent with what we did in 2005.
Exactly.
Way too many, coincidences similar to 2005. Like, this is the first time, both Ronaldo and Messi aren't in the round of 16. Last time that happened, Liverpool won the Champions League. So, a lot of things like that. But Peter, what do you think? Do you think Liverpool has an actual chance to win this thing?
History always repeats itself. You've seen us playing. We looked like a different team. I feel like the guys have nearly given hope, lost hope in the Premier League. And I just thought when we played Leipzig, Leipzig weren't great, but we just had that intensity that has been missing. Maybe for the past couple of months, you could say, team kind of switched up. Everyone just wanted to play, and we were just energetic, creating chances, and hopefully, like I feel so confident right now in Champions League football. I don't mind who we face. I feel like if we push through, quarterfinals, we haven't won. We're just that type of team.
Oh, that's a hot take, that.
Mm-hmm.
Just hopefully it's not a 3-0 like last time. If as we said, history repeats itself. I don't think I could deal with another half like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so true. I would die on that. But what do you guys think? Well, homie, I know where you stand, but
personally, I hate to bring a dampener to the boys here. Like, I think if I'm looking at it realistically, I don't think Virgil's going to play again. I'd have us third or fourth favourites. I'd have PSG, I'd have Bayern, I'd have City ahead of us in the pecking order right now. Fourth favourites. I know PSG and City have never won it, and City are notorious Champions League bottlers, but they're just more well-rounded, them teams. Not saying we couldn't beat them. We could definitely beat them on a given day. But I just think the lack of the crowd, the Anfield effect, like when them teams are going Anfield on them Champions League nights, it's a completely different story. Like, you seen with City when they came, I don't know, it was 2-3 years ago, they were bet before they already came on the pitch. You remember the bus was attacked, stuff like that. I just think lacking that atmosphere I think we're missing the fans the most, so that could just work against us.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I agree with that assessment in the sense of we definitely miss the fans, and I know everyone's dealing with it. But especially in the Premier League too, like I just feel like our players, especially like guys like Bobby, for example, they thrive off of the performers. They want to perform in front of the crowd. Like last time we had the crowd, Bobby had a great game, scored on the opposite end, ran all the way down to the crowd, gave him the love thing. That's what really when we're at our best. And it seems like times when we're not playing our best football, the sheer energy from the crowd seems to just push the ball into the net sometimes for us. And I think we're definitely missing on that, but. Well, homie, why don't you bring some positivity here? I know you guys dare to dream. So what are your thoughts? What do you think? Do you think we got a shot at this? Because I look at it again. Last time Ronaldo and Messi didn't make it, we won. Last time Everton were in the top 4, we won the Champions League. Too many things are happening. Too many things are lining up for me to say that this is just a coincidence.
Well, what I'd say is I agree. The fans, obviously Liverpool on a Champions League night after a Champions League is a special thing. So obviously I agree that not having that means it's completely different now, but the games are played at all neutral venues, so no one really has home advantage, whichever team it is. So, if you did have to face, I don't know, Bayern, you're not going to the Allianz Arena, you're going to some neutral venue. So even they don't have their fans, and obviously, Bayern at home or PSG at home are different kettle of fish than they are away from home with their neutral venues. So both teams, and Liverpool have shown in the Champions League that we can play in candid away ties. I think it's a difficult one because I get everyone saying like Man City, Bayern, and PSG are the favourites, but we've seen countless times that favourites don't always win the Champions League. The best team on paper doesn't always win it, And the Giants, no one has thought Porto would beat Juventus. You thought Juventus would win that comfortably, but. And even last season, no one would have thought Man City were going to lose to Lyon, but Lyon absolutely outclassed Man City in both legs. So, I think it's the rub of the green you need. Like if you can get a decent draw in the next round and then get to the semi-final, like we've seen Liverpool go up again when it comes to two-legged ties. So we have the know-how, the Champions League's in our blood and our DNA to win it. We're not the joint third most successful club in the tournament for no reason, so I think as well the fact that we'd have Henderson back for that time would make us much more stronger, and hopefully that Klopp would go with Fabinho and Henderson midfield, and still keeping K back and Phillips at centre back. which would allow us to have a much more stronger foundation. So I think it just depends on, you know, who we get, because I think on any given day, on paper right now, Bayern, PSG, and City are stronger than us, but I don't think any of them would love to face us in terms of our attack. You know, especially we have Henderson, Fabinho back, with Thiago. You know, even a Naby is looking sharp from the, you know, in the last 2 cameos he's had. You know, with the pace up top, I don't think any of these teams will want to face us. So, you know, I'll say this like I said before: dare to dream.
Dare to dream, baby. Absolutely. Chris Welch, welcome back, man. Thanks for seeing you in here. Dave thinks number 7's coming home, hopefully. Kind of agree with that assessment as well. You just got to take it one game at a time. You know, see who we get. Who you get is who you get, and just give it your all, really. But I want to kind of shift focus to Jordan Henderson, because he's going to play a massive role when he comes back in April. Hopefully, he'll be back for the second leg of the round of 8 matchup in the Champions League. I'm curious with you new guys, new post guys, and Tommy, when Henderson comes back, what's your ideal midfield 3 combination?
That's a tough one. If everyone's fit, I'd have Fabinho at 6, Henderson, and Wijnaldum. I just don't think he can drop. Like, Fabinho has to be there. I think Hendo, if he's back fully fit, the captain, he's got to be there. And I think Wijnaldum's arguably the most underrated player in the Premier League. Dropped 6, 7 out of 10 performances every week. Even like if you look at that Fulham game, he was the only player, well, in my eyes anyways, that you could say put in a decent shift. He's always just solid. So I think he's very reliable. Loves the goal in the Champions League as well in the big game. So yeah, that's my 3 anyways.
Interesting. I was not anticipating the Genie Wijnaldum slide in there. We're a big Genie podcast here. We're definitely like Genie here. Surprised there's no Thiago in there. Interesting.
Yeah, he just hasn't done it. I know he's getting, you know what I mean, he's getting slayed on Twitter. You see it. That's kind of a sign of he still is a class player, world class player, big name. It hasn't worked out for him so far, but you got to look at it as well. He's coming into a struggling team. If you go back to that Merseyside derby, that disaster in Goodison at the start of the season or near enough, like people forget he was our best player. I think he got man of the match on BT that day. He was quality. It kind of shows what he can do when we've got it. You know what I mean? We had our full squad there or near enough anyways. So I just, even if he's sliding there, I wouldn't mind it. Like, if you've got Henderson, Fabinho, and Thiago there, it takes the shackles of him kind of, and he can kind of just be that creative player that we bought him for.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think Thiago would work nicely if Fabinho played that 6, and you know Henderson likes to drop a bit deeper anyway. If he plays in that attacking third like he has done at Bayern, he's going to create lots of opportunities for us. Then diagonal balls into Salah and Mane. It's a tough one there if we're picking between him and Genie. I think it really depends on who you're coming up against, because you know Genie's going to give 100%. He's an absolute dog in that midfield. There's no other word. He's up and down, proper box to box. But if he is on the way out, maybe go Thiago.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I agree with you, Peter. I think it depends on the matchup, and I think if we're looking at a big game against like a Big 6 opponent in a Champions League, something like that, I would probably say it'd be Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago. But then I think if we're going up against a low block, I would actually expect either Fabinho or Henderson to get dropped, and then have one of those two start in the 6, and then potentially go Thiago in more of the 8 role with a guy like Keita, because Keita is really brought in to break down, you know, the kind of low block, and I think we need somebody like that kind of to break down those low blocks. But Tommy, what do you think? What would your ideal midfield 3 be?
I think the best we see of Thiago was when he was playing alongside Fabinho and Henderson. So obviously he's made for Europe. He's a born winner in Europe. You've got to go Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago. Although I do love Ginny, and I get a lot of stick from some of my mates for saying that. But I am a massive Ginny fan, and I want Ginny to stay. And there's a lot of people that don't see what he brings to the team. Like he does a lot of the dirty work that goes unnoticed because he's not getting assists or scoring goals. But he'll be we'll notice him when he's gone. And I agree with what the guy said about being one of the underrated guys in the Premier League because he's phenomenal.
I think as well, he goes under the radar with Gini. He's a very good. It's not even his work rate and stuff as well. He's a very good dribbler, like tight to get out of little tight places. You know what I mean? He has that quick feet. Then he opens up to play with a pass. Even pundits, like, they don't really notice that sort of thing. He can play 6. He can get it deep. He can play a bit like with Netherlands. He plays in the calm position, gets a lot of goals with them. So I think he can do it all. Even with Newcastle as well, he was nearly up top for them. Like, he played much higher. He's adapted his game. For me, he plays every week. I don't know why we haven't given him that contract yet.
Well, that's interesting in the contract point, because obviously he had a interview, I think this week actually, saying that he'd be devastated if he left and he really wants to stay. I mean, it sounds like he's asking for upwards to $180K a week. I mean, that's more than the majority of our team. I'll say that. I think that's upwards with Salah up there. He'd be up there with one of the highest paid guys in the team. Do you think he deserves something that high, $180K a week?
Well, if you look at what other clubs are giving for players, like Timo Werner wanted in excess of 200K. So that's kind of just the way the market's going. I know we don't really play our wages game like that, and FSG like to keep it tight, but like, if we're talking about today's markets, he definitely deserves it. He knows it's probably going to be his last contract. I'd say, he's getting on in age. I'd say just give the man what he wants. Like, he's a crucial part in that team.
I don't know, homie. What do you think?
Well, I think Gini's crucial. I think obviously, I agree with the sentiment that he's a fantastic player. I don't think he's worth 180 grand a week, personally. I think he was a fair contract with 120, which he was given and he rejected. So I don't see him staying, personally, still, because I don't think FSG are going to bow down to his demands. They're not going to do that now. If they were going to do that, they would have done that in the summer. So I see Gini going in the next couple of months, to be honest. Unless he drops his wage demands, I don't see him staying. So yeah, but obviously, like everyone else, I'd be disappointed if he left. But at the same time, I'll say this: Liverpool have lost big players in the past before and replaced them, and gone on. So, as bad as it would be, I don't think it wouldn't be the end of the club in terms of I trust FSG and Edwards to replace him with someone else, that comes in and does the job. Because even before, when we even bought Wijnaldum, most people didn't want Wijnaldum when he was at Newcastle. I mean, there was a massive outcry when we signed originally. So, of course, he's been immense for us. But, sometimes things always don't last forever, along the way. So, but I'd back Edwards to find someone new to replace him, and FSG always planned for, the club always planned for contingencies anyhow. So they would have understood that Gini's going to go potentially and have potential lineups lined up for him. So, but obviously, I'd love it. Obviously, we read that he was going to stay, but I just don't see it. And going back to the team, I think that Klopp's favoured team we saw in the Everton game, when he favoured Gini, Thiago, and Hendo. I think that's what he would favour if they were all fit. And then with Gini and Keita as rotational players, because he didn't sign Thiago to sit on the bench. Simple as that. He ain't paying Thiago like those high wages to come sit on the bench, and Thiago wouldn't have joined realistically because he could have gone to. He had there's so many other top class after him at the time, so he wouldn't have turned those down to come sit on Liverpool's bench. He could have stayed at Bayern and still been a guaranteed starter. And Bayern even aren't as good as team as they are right now without him. So, I think, I'd love for Gini to stay for 120, but I think 180, in my opinion, is a bit too much.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we can find a number that works. Obviously, I hope he stays too. I completely agree. I think he's super underrated, and I think he plays a huge role in this team. But getting into some of the thoughts in the comments here, J Doc, he thinks the best midfield three: Fabinho, Hendo, and Thiago. completely agree. Keita and Thiago link up. I think we saw a little bit of that. I think I would love to see that, especially against a low block. I think it'd be absolutely dangerous. Chris Welch is actually the 09-10 shirt. They get a little mixed up. This is the 09-010. I love this jersey. One of my favorites. But then, yeah, J-Doc also says it's easy to say give it to him, but it's a shit ton of money. For sure. I mean, that's the thing, right? You know, it's not our money, right? So obviously I would say pay the man, you know what I mean? But being from Boston, knowing how FSG works, they're not going to do that. They're not going to have a team full of 180K plus guys. That's just not the way they operate, not the way they're ever going to operate, unfortunately. So kind of shifting gears away from Genie, I want to kind of go back to this last performance because I think against this Leipzig team, we saw a lot of positives for the first time in a long time. A couple of things, obviously, Fabinho being back in the midfield. I think we saw the best version of Thiago that we've seen since, you know, the Merseyside derby, probably. You know, how important is it for you guys having Fabinho back in there, just the impact that he has, not only on Thiago, but for the entire team? Because for me, that was the best midfield performance I've seen in months. And I don't know, would you guys agree with that? And do you even want it? I think at this point, there's no way we can see Fabinho back at a center back spot.
No, I agree with you. Sorry, go on, mate.
No, go on, Tommy, go on.
Nice one. And I think it also gave the fullbacks more protection as well, because there is more advanced as well, where I think in previous games there have been, obviously without Henderson in the midfield covering Trent, there's been a lot of more exposure down the right-hand side of our defence where he's been bombing forward, getting caught out. I think having Fabinho back in there is kind of given that extra bit of protection so they could have more license to roam and get forward and get balls into the box, which obviously helped out on performance on Wednesday as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go. What do you guys think?
Yeah, like for me, a fully fit Fabinho right now, if you're going basing off the last 2 or 3 seasons, he's the best CDM in the world, like CDM specialist, you know what I mean? The way Kabak and Phillips looked solid, and to be honest, they're bang average at best centre-backs, if we're being honest. And I just think his presence makes them look a lot better as well. You see Trent was bombing on a bit more. He kind of knows he has that bit of cover in Fabinho, that if he gets exposed, Fabinho can get across, make a tackle, make an interception, that sort of way. So I just think it gives even Robbo's always bombing forward, to be fair, but it just gives the boys more confidence that they can go and they know Fabinho's sitting there to get the ball, and his passing range is top notch as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, like you mentioned there on the centre backs, he gives them a bit of cover. I'm still worried that they haven't been fully tested there together as a partnership. Of course, Fabinho gives them a bit more freedom and takes a bit of the pressure off. I still don't think they're good enough. But it's too much when you bring Fabinho back into centre back. I feel like Thiago doesn't get to play, so we're kind of stuck in a sticky situation here where you don't know, whether to keep him in midfield or bring him back. I don't know. I think Henderson getting him back and fit is crucial to this side. Just get something going. Because, look, let's be honest. Like Kabak and Phillips, they had a good game the other night, but Leipzig were poor. Very poor. Yeah. I can't see us getting that lucky in the next round.
No, I agree. And Wahome and I talked about this a little bit. I mean, Chris in the chat, having Fab in the midfield allowed others freedom to push on, 100%. I mean, even Thiago said it. He had the freedom to bomb forward, and that's when he's at his best, when he can just use his instincts and be anywhere on the pitch that we need him to be. Lost ID here. Leipzig not stand a chance with that midfield. It's very vital for us to have Fab in the midfield. Rock solid. Completely agree. And then I do understand the concern, especially with him getting overworked with everyone bombing forward. But the one thing I like about Fabinho is his positioning is always spot on. And I feel like he never has to do a ton of running because he always ends up in the right spot when we need him to. So I just think with his instincts and his intelligence, he's going to be okay there. I don't think he's going to get overworked by any means. J-Doc, put some respect on Phillips. Man, hasn't done one thing wrong. 2 man of the match season, 100%. Right? He's done a good job, but I agree with Peter in the sense of with what I've seen so far with Kabak and Phillips as a partnership, but they haven't had an ultimate test yet. And again, they're amazing in the air, and I think that they'll be great against set pieces, corners, all of that stuff. I just want to see what happens when they play a guy with some speed up top. What happens when they have to keep up and they get pulled out of position and have to follow these runs, playing a high line against those guys? That's my number one concern because we haven't seen that yet. Depending on who we get in the next round of the quarterfinals, we could be playing a team with some fast guys up top.
And Mbappe.
Sorry, just you remember that Sheffield United game? Even Ollie Burke was getting in behind every time.
Yep.
I remember once he properly spun Phillips. He was making the runs. Kabak wasn't tracking him. But the thing is, then Sheffield United boys just didn't have the quality to put the ball in the back of the net. Like, they had the movement, but they just didn't have the end product. You compare that to what Haaland and Mbappe, even just a striker, even someone like Werner, I know is, you know what I mean, not a world-class player, but they can expose them, you know what I mean, with some nice movement and some decent finishing. I just worry they're going to get targeted big time. Yeah.
I mean, that's my concern too, but go ahead, Tommy. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Sorry, it's a weak point of it's okay against the teams where you're going to dominate the ball and they're going to be trying to go long to get a knockdown from second balls. But in the Champions League, the amount of quality that's there, it is a worry. But it's the best we've got because do you want to stick Henderson back there and lose him in midfield? He's not a natural centre back, and or did you go into a back three and then change the whole shape of the team? It's kind of with Henderson, Kabak, and Phillips. It's just you got to go out and attack and hope we score more than them, right? With the front three on form, it'd be like the Brendan Rodgers years. You score 4, we score 5.
What I will say is that we won the Champions League 2005 with Jimmy Traore and Biscan. So we had
a good spine then, though. We had Carragher at centre half. We had a good centre back in Carragher. We had Gerrard in the team. Sami Hyypiä. We had a good 2 centre backs. Like Jimmy Traore left back. Fair dues. He's a legend, but I don't think you can cope with. You can carry one passenger, can't you? But I think, no disrespect to Phillips and Kabak because they've done great. That was great the other day, but there'll be passengers in the Champions League quarterfinal, semi-final. But it's the best we've got. Got to go with it. And number 7's still coming home. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, that's it. Dare to dream, baby.
Well, I was going to say, like, out that Champions League game, the Leipzig game, the stats showed that Thiago had the most tackles and most ground duels won, while Fabinho got the most recoveries and interceptions. So I think there would be a bit more balance with, like, when people say, like, Fabinho have to do too much to do, I think they underrate how good Thiago is defensively when he plays forward. Xhaka's free because he was, even like for Bayern, a lot of games where he was coming out of the games with the most tackles won, most recoveries, most interceptions. So just that he gets killed if you play him as a 6, defensive 6, as we were doing, because that's not his game. And obviously, if you had Henderson in there, then we're much more stronger defensively because you have 3 players that tackle. One thing I was noticing when you were playing Ginny, Thiago, and Jones was that Jones and Ginny don't tackle really. Out of those games, they don't really tackle. So it was easy for teams like Chelsea, City to run through on midfield because there's no one tackling. And when you don't have anyone tackling, you're not really pressing, you're not really bringing the ball back or breaking up play. And I think that was a massive difference that Fabinho did, was the fact that he broke up plays. He did those intelligent European tackles that Fernandinho was famous for. Those intelligent fouls that broke up play, and I think that's what we missed. With Kabak and Phillips, I agree with everyone saying, and I think my main concern is Kabak ball watches. I think he does it too much.
Yeah, yes, he does.
And I think if we were playing a Lewandowski who's very good at running or Haaland, that's my worry, that Kabak will get caught out quite a lot because he ball watches. Yes, he's good in terms of recovery, in terms of like being able to run back if a striker is slow, because we saw that in the Sheffield United game, but I think that's my worry. I think with Phillips as well, like he lacks the pace and also the ability to read runs, because there are a few times where he's been caught out of position. And also, I think what you saw in Leipzig in the first half was they still aren't communicating enough to know that to hold the line. If one moves forward, the other one still holds back. So they need to have that understanding to know that if we're both going, if one's going up, we're both going up. Otherwise that's why we get caught out at times, because there's still that lack of communication. And maybe that comes with games, and hopefully, and like I said, it is the best we've got. So we have to just because obviously Davis is never going to play for Liverpool ever. So we have to assume.
He doesn't exist.
What's going on with him? What's going on with him? You know what I mean? If he's
I mean, honestly, Homie and I think that at this point, if he doesn't play, especially like after the international break, if he doesn't get a game in after that, it's clear that he was just brought in as like a deep cover, and that he's going to get sold in the summer just as a profit, quick profit.
Yeah. I think they brought him in as leverage, kind of to bargain, because it's very hard to bargain when like teams know we need a centre back. Like Schalke knew we needed Kabak, and they could have realistically given it, like blown him way out of proportion, asked for double the price if they wanted to. But then we're going, oh look, we kind of have Davies here. We don't really need Kabak, but we take him. That kind of way. But yeah, I can't see him playing. I don't think he's up to the standard yet.
What do we expect in all? Like, we signed him for $2 million from Preston, and he's 25 years old. Like, realistically, what were we expecting of him? Like you know what I mean? Would he even start for Crystal Palace or something? Probably not. So,
yeah, honestly, I thought he'd get a game against a team like Fulham, a team he'd only play against those bottom teams that don't have a huge aerial threat. Have trouble scoring goals, and like their guys up top maybe be a little bit pacier. Like, from everything I've read about him, he was a pacier guy in the back who's good with his feet. So I thought that's where he might get some game time. But obviously now it's been a blessing. And I think with Kabak, when you think about, he's still only 20 years old, has a ton of experience, and I think some of the things that we've talked about with Kabak and his weaknesses are things that can be corrected. Especially at his young age, I'm thrilled to see the skill set that he has. And I just think about, like, next year, he'd be a fine fourth option. Hoping that if he does play, he'd be next to a guy like Van Dijk who can boss him around and tell him exactly where to be. And being under his tutelage is going to be massive. So, like, I have high hopes for him. And I think that's exactly why, because of those reasons, I just don't think Davies really fits into what we're trying to do, short term or long term.
Yeah, well, Kabak never played with a real centre back alongside him. I think in Schalke they kind of have a makeshift CDM gone into centre back there. Comes in, the best he's played with has been Fabinho, who again is makeshift. So like we've seen what Van Dijk done to Gomez, and players makes them look 10 times better than they are. Same thing could happen with Kabak if he gets that leadership in and he gets shown what to do, because like he looks like a headless chicken back there sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Bit like Sacco.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much our Sacco.
I would say this with Davis, the fact that, if it wasn't for COVID, his value was 20 million. We obviously got a bargain because of COVID shaved off his price. Otherwise, he would have been a 20 million centre back, because, there were quite a few teams after him. Celtic, Newcastle were interested in him. Spurs looked at him as well. So he's better than he is than what we're giving. I just don't think he was a Klopp signing. That's my thing. He was more of a Edwards FSG kind of
cheap signing.
Yeah, based on analytics, because analytics said he was quite good. He's the best centre back in the Championship, and that's what they based him on. Otherwise, obviously, he's not a Klopp. The thing with K-Back is, and I was just going to ask everyone's opinion over this, is the fact that if we buy K-Back, let's say we buy him for 80 million, that fee rises to 37 million with add-ons, appearance add-ons. So, is he £37 million player? When you think about it, we could have got Khalid Qatar for 24 million. Botman's still going like 25 million maximum. I would actually, I can see what people are saying as a forced choice centre back to buy him, but I would be loath to sign him, because I don't think if we sign Carrick in the summer, that's the only centre back we're getting. We're not getting another one. So I don't want him. I don't think he's good enough.
I think we do sign that. I think we sign another centre. I think we sign more. So I think we're gonna be surprised this summer with the players we sign. I'm being very positive on this, because
that's a hot take. That's a hot take right there.
So I think we're gonna FSG need to back Klopp this summer, and I think they do, because especially with January and things like that. I think like what happened in January, I think they must have said to Klopp that this is my personal opinion. I haven't got Klopp and speed dial or anything like that. But my opinion is that they said to Klopp, get to January, be in the title within a chance of the title, and we'll get you a centre back in. And it didn't happen. And obviously, I think the players just were a bit disheartened by it. You can see by his interview after some of the interviews he's done, where he was just a bit disheartened, not having a centre back and playing some of the players he did at centre back just to prove a point. And I think they need to back him with someone big. And I think your farm will probably. I think you'll see Matip will probably go because he's made of glass, great player, but made of glass. And I think you'll see us sign 2 or 3 centre backs coming in, plus a Gini replacement, and Mbappe or Haaland. That's my. Yeah.
So are you saying that based on? So if we don't get the Champions League and we don't win the Champions League, so we don't really get anything. Are you then saying that they're going to dip into their own funds, the finances, and do something they've never done before?
Yeah, I think. I call me one optimistic, call me deluded, but I think they didn't spend when they was on the top. And after we won the league, we didn't really invest much there. We didn't after we won the Champions League, we didn't spend much. And obviously, I think you'll be surprised how I think the boys go. But I think FSG go big and go bold because while we've got Klopp as manager, I think 1 year outside the Champions League, like Klopp. Klopp is a massive pull. Like he can make me do something I don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like, like the worst thing, I'll get in a ring of AJ with Klopp in my corner. You know what I mean? It's just that's the way it is. Is that inspirational? He's got that much of a pull to make you want to do things for him. So I think you'll be surprised if someone will see a completely different Liverpool team line up next year. And I think some of the front three might be replaced as one of the front three might go because obviously they're getting old now. So might be using a deal for one of the players in a deal for Mbappe, maybe Mane going one way. I don't know. It's just I think you'll see a bit of a change up.
Yeah, I'd love to. I hope to God you're right about that. Like I just can't see it. Like if we sign, you mentioned Mbappe and Haaland. If we sign one of them, I think there's a less than 1% chance of us signing any of them. I hate being negative. Like if I seen Haaland holding up that Liverpool shirt, it'd be absolute scene. The only thing is, with the Euros going on in the summer, it might make it harder to get these deals done. I think there's going to be a lot of early or very late deals done. It depends, obviously, how the teams go in the Euros and stuff. But especially with COVID as well, with them, it's just, I don't know. I don't think there'll be many big deals. Obviously, there's going to be a few. I think Haaland's going to move, hopefully, to us. I think he will go Chelsea. But just on that Kabak, I think it's so hard to judge him because let's say he's playing, let's just say he's Gomez and all the other lads are injured, but Van Dijk is still fit and he's played alongside Van Dijk. Is he going to look a totally different player to what he's looking like now? Like he definitely is, let's be honest. So I don't know if we should, let's see how he does to the end of the season, but I think it's so hard to judge. How many partners has he had since he came? He's had Henderson, Fabinho, Phillips, you know what I mean? 20-year-old lad coming from German football. Don't know if he speaks English or anything like that, but he's literally coming into a nightmare scenario in terms of a centre back coming into the Premier League. So if he's alongside Van Dijk, I think he's going to look with levels better. So I actually don't know if we should sign him or not. It's hard to know to see how good or bad he actually is.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's a great. I think you're spot on with that, and I think the rest of the season is going to also going to determine that. I think if he plays well, especially in the Premier League games run up, if you make a run in the Premier League and he shows a good, especially if he takes leadership in the Champions League, if you go up against a Haaland, somebody like that, he puts in a good performance. That might put it over the edge for him to sign on. But a couple of things in the chat here. Chris Welch, he thinks that we should keep Phillips next season, sell Mbappe because the injury prone. Pretty much completely agree. Matip, pretty much, for a free signing, we can't ask for anything more than what he's given us. But this time for him to go, it's so hard for him to play more than one game a week, and you need somebody more reliable than that. Gaurav here thinks that we should sign Konate as one of the center back options. It's not a bad option.
He looked poor 2 games. Just him. I think that Upamecano lad. I know he's gone Bayern, but them boys are very hyped up. You see on Twitter, boys, we should get him. I haven't seen loads of them, but them 2 French centre backs at the back for Leipzig. From what I've seen, I watched them against United this year as well. PSG, they haven't impressed me. They look they look like there's a lot of mistakes in them. I know they're young and stuff, but they're very overhyped right now.
Yeah.
Konati's not the Matip. Konati's injured 90% of the time. What's the point? You're just replacing him with Matip. So there's no point. I'd stay away from him.
Injury guy to injury guy, exactly. But this he thinks we're going to rock the transfer window. Adam thinks we're going to seduce Mbappe. That'd be interesting. Would love to see the seduction there.
What's it Mbappe? I saw an article this week. I think it was this week, saying that his wage is going to be like, I think it's like 15 or 14 million. Liverpool can't afford that. That'd cripple the whole club.
But he's Nike's poster boy, though, isn't he? That's what you got to remember. He's Nike's poster boy. So, if they're not going to want their poster boy going to somewhere like Real Madrid that will play in Adidas, are they? So I think that's why I'm thinking. That's why I'm thinking over the Mbappe. I'd much rather Haaland because he's a proven goal scorer, and that's what I think we're missing. But I think with Mbappe, you'll probably find that there's more chance of us getting him because of his stuff with Nike, and obviously LeBron's trying to get him to come to Liverpool and things like that.
Yeah.
So so I think I'd much rather, an answer to Lost ID's question, I'd much rather Haaland, but I think Mbappe is probably more realistic, if I'm honest. As weird as that sounds.
I saw a podcast recently with James Pearce, and he was like, when someone asked him about Mbappe, he was like, Nike have never ever funded 100 million or paid wages for a player's wages to sign for a club. So he's like, well, why? He found it far-fetched, the idea that Nike are going to pay 100 million to Liverpool to buy Mbappe or pay his wages. So he was like, Mbappe, unless you sell Salah, the only way you're getting Mbappe is you sell Salah. And I think.
What about if you sent Mane the other way? I love Mane, by the way, but
how much are you going to get for Mane?
Mane plus 60 million, maybe 70 million.
Yeah, he's 29 now. How much do you think Mbappe would cost? I know Haaland has that release clause. I think it kicks in 2 years, but I think the release cost is only about 60, 70 million. I'd say maybe if a team comes in this season, gives them Haaland would be half the price of Mbappe. You got to remember that, I think. But what I would say on Haaland is he has Raiola as his agent, so he's already. That's you know what I mean. He's going to be like Ibrahimovic. He's going to be just, let's say he goes to Chelsea or Liverpool. He's going to be there for 3 years. He's going to move on to Juve, Real Madrid, or whatever. Like, he's already been at a few clubs already. Haaland won't stay longer than 3 years, I'd say.
Yeah,
at a given club.
I completely agree with that assessment. I think that's him. He's going to be at Dortmund maybe for one more year, then jump to the Premier League, and then make the jump to a Barcelona or Real Madrid. But I think that in terms of looking at this team, I think Haaland would be a more natural fit, just because I think we could then do a 4-3-3, do a 4-2-3-1, still have a role for Bobby, something like that. But just with the Nike connections, the LeBron connection, all of that, Mbappe, I think definitely probably for realistic would probably be more likely than Haaland in my opinion. But I don't think either one of them is going to come. I hope we can get one of them, but just. And realistically, is it possible? I think DACA would be more is much more feasible, much more realistic. It's only going to cost us like 20-30 million for a guy like that, and he's having a hell of a year. But Peter, what do you think?
Yeah, it's just very uncharacteristic of Liverpool to fork out absolute madness money for these type of players. We like to build players. We're not really into buying them kind of pre-built players, so to speak. I've been saying it for months now. I think it's all just media hype. I can't see either of them coming. Even I seen talks of Raphael Varane and stuff like this. No chance, in my opinion. Anyway, I just have no faith in the board to fork out that cash whatsoever.
Exactly. No, that I completely agree. But everyone in the chat, keep it up. We love the comments here. Any other questions you guys want us to answer, feel free to leave them in there. And if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. And then while you're doing it, go over to the Near Post podcast, like and subscribe to them as well. They're doing some awesome work. Go check it out. But another quick thing I just wanted to touch on was Joachim Low leaving the Germany team after the Euros. And obviously we all know the connections to Klopp. It seems like Klopp really wants to coach the German team at some point in his career. He has come out and said that he is going to finish his contract here at Liverpool, at least be here until the remainder of his contract. Obviously, that doesn't always necessarily mean that's true. We know that he wants to be at Germany at some point. And I think I did see one article come out recently that despite what Klopp said, that he's still like the number one option to replace Lowe at Germany. But what are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think there's any chance that?
No,
Hopefully not. Go on, Tommy. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say more. He's not going to leave when Mbappe's coming in the summer, is he? So he won't. I think I heard through I heard some things through Twitter and things like that he was offering Klopp a new contract. So I don't know whether that's to obviously when we come to summer to try and sign players. Say, look, Klopp's committed for X amount of years and things like that. So I don't know how true that is, or I might have dreamt it. I don't know, but I did see something about Klopp being offered a new contract and extension in terms of. But so I don't think he goes. I think he's still doing. He wants to create a team to dominate for years, and this year's kind of blown that away. So I think you'll see him stay for a bit long. I don't think he'll leave.
I don't think he'll quit after like this season. Say we get no silver ending. Klopp's not really the type of guy to leave a project. You know, it's going to be a big challenge for him, but he relishes in them moments when he's under the pressure. Like, he seems like he loves it. I have full faith in him. I wouldn't want any other manager to get us through this kind of struggle we're going through. Yeah, he won't leave, 100%.
Did you see what the Dortmund guy said about? And they made the mistake of getting rid of Klopp rather than getting rid of the players. I'd rather the whole team go and lose Klopp. Like, just because he's just amazing. He's up there. Like, I love him more than I love my parents. You know what I mean? Like,
I think Gerrard said it best in his interview when he over at Rangers earlier this week. Like, people don't want me to coach Liverpool. Like, people want Klopp to be the manager. Klopp is Liverpool. Like, he changed us from doubters to believers. He's really just embraced the club's culture, the city's culture. Like, he's just the perfect fit for just like the Liverpool brand, and exactly when you think about Liverpool as a football club, just like loyalty and honor and all that stuff. Like, Klopp just aligns with that perfectly, and he's just the perfect face for this club. And I think he feels it too, and he feels the love from the club. I don't think he's just going to leave that when he knows that he can go coach Germany whenever he wants. I mean, whenever he wants, he'll get that job.
Yeah. Plus,
Sorry, go on.
No, go mate.
You look at just on this summer transfer. I think it's a big in terms of that Germany job. If Klopp doesn't Klopp's going to. FSG really need to back Klopp and get him to play, get him who he wants, what he needs. You know what I mean, to rebuild this team. Like, because he could look at it, let's just say FSG sting him again in the summer and don't back him. He could just be like, well, screw this. I'm just not getting the backing here like other clubs are getting. Like, and that Germany job, let's be honest, he's German. That Germany job is going to look appealing. It would have to. They have a good young squad coming through. But this summer is big in terms of Klopp needs to be backed. Just, FSG need to show they're fully behind them, which I'm skeptical about.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Christian Falk guy is backtracking now, because he was one that's saying like Klopp's favourite, and then he tweeted like today that Hans Flick's now more likely. I think Flick's more likely.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think Klopp's the type to leave. For a contract. He stays to the end of his contract. So even if the teams aren't winning stuff, he will stay to the end of the 3 years, then leave. So I think it's more the case of him leaving 2024 rather than him leaving. Unless there was something drastic happened, I don't see him leaving. Because he's also the type of manager to get on with what he's work, get on with the tools he's got. Like, because he knew when he joined the club, he shared the same philosophy as FSG. You don't go out and buy the stars, you create the stars. So I don't see him now all of a sudden just saying, "Oh, I don't like how FSG run the club," because he knew that in the first place. That was the reason why it was FSG's vision of the club that influenced Klopp, because they both shared the same way of thinking. So I personally don't see him leaving in the next 3 years. And James Pearce said as well he doesn't see him leaving the next 3 years. So, I think most of it came from Bild and
Sport
Chris.
Bills, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, they're the ones that are spinning it. But I think it's going to be more Flick that leaves Bayern end of this year. I think he goes, and he goes join because he doesn't sound like the type to turn down the Germany job.
Even if we know how ruthless. I know Chelsea are going well now, but we know how ruthless their board is. If a few bad results start going for Tuchel, he could easily be sacked, and Germany might eye him up. He's another good up and coming German manager, so he's definitely an option.
Yeah,
because Chelsea could sack him in a heartbeat.
That's a good point.
They'd be running out of managers, then, wouldn't they, Chelsea? If they do that,
That's what they do,
right? But Adam brings up a point here. Klopp's the next manager to take over Liverpool will be Pep Linders. Who would your ideal candidate be? Looking ahead 3 years from now, who would you want to replace Pep Linders? Replace Klopp. I've seen Pep Linders' name come up. I've seen Gerrard's name come up. I've even seen a guy like Nagelsmann come up. I think Linders and Nagelsmann would be great. I would love to see Gerrard, maybe go back to Rangers for one more year after winning the title, see if he can hold it down, and also see how he does with Rangers in the Champions League. I think go to a bigger club somewhere else, a top-tier team in either the Bundesliga, the Italian league, in the EPL, something like that. But what are your guys' thoughts on that? Who would you want to see replace Klopp ultimately?
I don't want to see Klopp go. No, it's
lifetime contract.
Yeah, it's tough one, isn't it, boys?
Yeah,
it's too early. I think it's kind of hard to how mad this manager's transfers are out there. Out one day, any top manager could go out of contract. Before then, Gerrard, I think I wouldn't take him if he's only coming from Rangers because
agreed.
Yeah,
Scottish football isn't enough, and Europa League. He needs to come maybe to England or somewhere where he gets a feel for. Obviously, we all want to sit here and say Gerrard, yes, we'd want him in the job. He's eyeing up that job. That's nearly why he's got into management, but he needs a bigger test before he can come to us for sure.
Definitely.
Who do you think you should go to though? Because I had a chat with one of my friends who's a Palace fan, and he was saying he'd love Gerrard to come in and replace Roy Hodgson at Palace.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, is that a bigger club than Rangers? Because you're playing European football at Rangers, you're getting that exposure, and to go to a team like Palace where there's not much back. I don't know their financial state, but there's where you realistically see where could he go that in the Premier League that's on par with Rangers. That's the next step than Rangers, if that makes sense. Because you want to go somewhere with European football, but where is that next step? Somewhere like Wolves or somewhere like that? Is it?
Yeah, but that's almost kind of too big, and you don't want to really see him go abroad.
No,
it's kind of impossible to line someone up for a job like Liverpool. It's very difficult. Yeah. Dermot, what were you going to say?
Just on, you'd want to see Gerrard stay another, I would say, couple of years at Rangers, really cement his legacy there. Because what he's done this year, I think it's kind of getting underrated. He's stopped at 10 in a row. That's legendary Rangers start. I know Rangers, the standard of football mightn't be great in Scotland. They're still an absolutely massive club. Rangers are a bigger club than the majority of the Premier League clubs, if we're being honest. Mm-hmm. They've got the history and stuff like that. So what he did there, and they're still in the Europa League, they got a good result last night, 1-1 away draw. So if he gets them to a quarterfinal Europa League, I think that's massive. But I still think he'd need to go to maybe a Aston Villa, Wolves. Yeah, Wolves would probably play European football, maybe the Europa League, but it's a tough one. I wouldn't want him to go Rangers to Liverpool. We've seen what's happened with Frank Lampard, Solskjaer, Arteta. The sentiment, give it to a club legend or whatever. Not saying Arteta's a club legend, but the other lads are. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't want Gerrard to go when he's not ready and it doesn't work out for him. Because I know you'll say it wouldn't do end to his legacy, but it still wouldn't be nice seeing him struggle as manager at Liverpool. You want him to be ready to go. And I think he knows that himself. He's going to want to prove himself at another big enough Premier League club before he steps up to Liverpool.
But you also got to think about his defensive record as well. What is it, 7 or 9 goals? I know it's great Scottish football, but it's still
impressive.
And they're unbeaten as well in in the league. As I don't fully, I think Celtic done, haven't they? They've gone unbeaten, but
yeah. There's an invincible season on.
Yeah.
The only thing that could mess that up is if they go far in the Europa League. He'll obviously eye up that with the title wrapped up. But if they could make a quarter final in the Europa League, I think that can't be underestimated.
I agree. And Gaurav in the chat here, he thinks that he should Gerrard should stay at Rangers. He competes with he has a richer club, has to overachieve in Europe, plays commanding football, otherwise go to Germany. Honestly, I think if I had to pick like the perfect next club for him, if it was outside of the Premier League, I actually think like the ideal club for him because of their transfer strategy and how they compete. He'd be a great fit at Dortmund. I think because they have the young guys like Jude Bellingham, Sancho. He probably wouldn't be there by the time he gets there, but Reina from the United States. They get a lot of youth talent in there. Gerrard seemed to do a good job of that, and I think he'd be able to bring in maybe not world class players, but players who are on their way to becoming world class. You see the guys at Dortmund just turns in and turns out. So I think that could be like an ideal club if it wasn't in the Premier League. And if I think about Premier League club. I agree. I think a Villa would be a good fit. Maybe a team like Wolves, Southampton would be like that type of team would be ideal. Even like a Leeds United, something like that. I think if you could go there, put those teams in the top half of the Premier League for like 3 straight years or something like that. I think that would send a statement big time.
But what's going to make them clubs want Steven Gerrard? Like why? That's very uncharacteristic of Dortmund to go out and get a kind of a young manager like this. So what does he have to do to kind of secure the next job?
He needs to win the Europa League. If he won the Europa League, then it would make them stand up and think, okay, he's a good manager to get. But just winning the Scottish League, Dortmund wouldn't look at him after that. But if he won the Europa League, they would.
If he won the Europa League, I think that's an outrageously good achievement. Like, you look at their players compared to some of them teams in the Europa League, it's chalk and cheese. Some of the players, look at the players United have, Arsenal have, who else? Ajax, teams like that. Like if he could win a Europa League, I think that's an unbelievable achievement. Like even if they made a quarter semi-final, I still think that's madly impressive. He needs to definitely defend that title over in Scotland, you know what I mean? Celtic to come back all guns blazing for that. But it's a tough one. I think the teams in England though would definitely want to take him on. Like he's an English legend. It'd be big for the club. Let's just say Villa, Leeds. I know they've got good managers there now. Let's just say they're gone in a few years. Getting someone like Gerrard would definitely boost their club, and if he's doing a good job as well over in Scotland, I think they'd have no bother taking him on.
What about a Leicester? So if Brendan goes somewhere else, you know what I mean? If
Leicester would be great shout there. Yeah, I mean, again, they're not afraid to spend money when they have to. They always compete. Yeah, with that club, I mean, Vardy would probably be fading out at that point, but still a lot of talent there. They're ambitious. They know that they can compete with all the top clubs, and that would be actually that would probably be the ideal club because if he goes to Leicester, keeps them exactly what Brendan Rodgers is doing now. After everything he's done in Scotland, like why wouldn't a top tier club look at Gerrard at that point? I think that'd be more than enough, especially if he can secure Champions League for Leicester. Oh, that would be absolutely massive. But to kind of close things out here, the last thing I wanted to talk about was some of the summer transfers. Obviously, we talked about some of the transfers that we want to see, Haaland, Mbappe, stuff like that. But we've been linked to a lot of different guys. Aurier out of Lyon, David from Lille, Varane from Real Madrid, all these guys. What do you guys think are the biggest needs for Liverpool? Wahome and I have discussed it. Creative midfielder, more center back depth, probably another striker to back up or to either back up or replace Firmino. What would you guys identify as maybe the top 3 needs on this team for next season?
Who wants to go first?
I'll go. It's nearly the same again. Yeah, I think we're all right in the defensive midfielder role. Centre backs, yeah, I think if Matip and that, like, they're just injury prone. Like, there's no point really. Get another centre back in, attacking midfield, and then an attacker. I think something has to happen with that front 3. If either maybe one of them goes, or they switch up the kind of way they play it up there, because we're too predictable at the minute. We're way too predictable, but it's just about finding that right fit, because we're not ones to just buy for the sake of buying. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think when you mention Auer there and stuff like that, I just don't think they're. I don't think they're good enough. I was watching a bit of them play today. Actually, they played Ryan, and he was like, I didn't even see him play. I didn't even notice him on the pitch.
Interesting.
What about Basuma?
Yeah, I really like him. Really like the look of him. I think if you were going for him, you'd probably hope Brighton get relegated. You know what I mean? His price probably get 10 million off him, but I think he looks a quality player. I heard boys hyping him up before, and I kind of been playing a closer eye to him, and looks very good. Looks very decent player.
Mm-hmm. I would also go against Basuma, because I think like if you get him in, he ain't going to solve a problem to low blocks. That's our biggest Achilles heel. Even last season we won the league title. If you look at the most games we scored from against low blocks, it's from set pieces. We didn't actually create chances against low blocks. We never resolved it. That's our massive Achilles heel. So Basuma's great as a defensive player, but he's not going to help you break low blocks. And that's what my always face. It doesn't matter how good a striker you get. What point you can have the best striker in the world if you've got no one creating anything from him?
Yeah,
that's what we signed Thiago for, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Thiago doesn't. Thiago's a low block playmaker. He's not. We need a goal scoring midfielder, because all the other big teams have one. We don't have one.
That was supposed to be Naby Keita, but he just hasn't done it. There is a player though. I say this to Peter nearly every time we're talking about transfer for Liverpool. Plays for Wolves. I think he's Pedro Neto. I honestly think he's criminally another under. Like, people do rate him and they rate him as a good player, but I think he's really gonna burst on now and become world class very soon. He's only 20, and he's carrying that Wolves attack this season. He can play left wing, right with left forward. He could definitely do a job down the middle. He'd have that link up with Jota. I'm not sure how much he'd cost, but I think he'd be a cracking signing for us. Like, it's a realistic one as well. I could see it happening. No, I haven't seen any links, but
yeah, I think he's a good player. I also think Diaby Leverkusen is a very good player as well. Because we were linked to him as well. Like, he can play across the line, and he's got loads of assists as well. I think Neto, very good player, but I don't see Wolves sell him to us after Jota. I just don't see it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and plus I think they're going to ask ridiculous money for him. Because we robbed them for Jota. So
we still paid decent money for Jota. It's not like, because with the add-ons it's near, was it 45 million-ish if with the add-ons. I don't know how exactly they work, but how much do you think Neto would realistically cost? He'd probably be 50 million plus.
55, 60 around that area.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah.
And
long-term investment.
We haven't got Barker until this time round, unless they're desperate for Divock. We haven't got any Barker. Last time it was Hovard got us the deal over Langford. So
yeah, maybe.
Who would be desperate for Divock already? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Would they be interested in Shaqiri? Maybe. No. Decent, could be decent for them. Maybe not. Yeah.
Who'd you say?
Minamino.
Yeah, Minamino. I forgot about him. Long lost. Yeah, another guy in Klopp's basement all the time, along with Samikas. Those guys are always down the way.
There's a shout for James Ward-Prowse in the chat.
Yeah, Chris Welch. Yeah, he thinks James Ward-Prowse would be a good fit. Yeah, I like it.
I don't know if convinced by him. I think he's a free kick merchant. Score many goals from set plays.
Yeah.
Like, if you take away free kicks, he doesn't really offer that much.
You're going to play that.
Doesn't offer much.
Yeah, you're going to pay that English tax on him as well.
Yeah.
Like, you could look at the Premier League or the Bundesliga or Serie A. There is players out there that you could get that are very similar to Ward-Prowse, but you get them for 20 million cheaper. Like, Southampton are going to ask at least for 50 million off us.
Yeah,
what about Grealish?
I'd take Grealish in a heartbeat. He's obviously we're both Irish, so we should hate him, but we just can't. He's too good. Like, he's just too good. But that's a 100 million job.
You think 100 million? You reckon?
Yeah, especially after signing that big contract with Villa last summer. Class act, though.
Good player, isn't he?
All we'll
I
say
like
is
Grealish
Grealish.
as well.
He's a good player, but then if you look at his stats compared to say DePaul or well, there's not that much difference.
No, for me, Grealish, you look at his stats this season, I think he has something like 12, 13 assists. He's missed a few games. He's carrying that. Well, not as much this season, but I don't even just look at the stats, just his style of play. He'd be the type of lad that would win his penalties, free kicks. You're talking about the low block. He's literally the perfect man to play low block. You can play him center attack and mid. You can play him just off the left in that front three if you want. I can't see us getting Grealish. He'll just be too expensive, but I'd take him in a heartbeat, yeah.
Yeah.
Good player. But
There's a guy.
don't
There's a guy at Rennes. That is it Carvanga? I can't say his name.
Camavinga.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. He's a good little player. I like him as well, but I think he's Real Madrid bound anyway.
Yeah, he's gonna go to the Spanish league for sure. He screams Spanish league player, but
Real Madrid all over.
Grav in the chat brought up a good point before we closed out. I actually wanted to bring this guy up. Harvey Elliott replacing Shaq. Obviously, Elliott's having a hell of a year, in the championship. Do you guys think that he gets a spot on the team next year, or do you think he'd be better off getting a loan for a Premier League club next season?
Yeah, Premier League loan. One more
I think
year.
it depends who we sign as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, look what happened with Brewster. He had a good season last year in the championship. We got $20 million for him. He's done absolutely nothing for Sheffield. Granted, Sheffield, they've had some injuries. He doesn't really fit in their system well, in my opinion. But I just don't think Elliott. He still wouldn't be even 20 years old yet. I don't think he'd be ready.
17.
Yeah, so I mean, unless you go the Phil Foden route, where you just want him training with the team for 3 years and just have him be around the team, I understand that. But I think with just the class that he's showing, there'd definitely be a team, maybe a Brighton, somebody like that, a Leeds team, maybe something like that would take him for a loan. And if we can guarantee him some minutes in the Premiership, I think that would be the best way for him to go.
He needs to play ball.
So late to Norwich, they go up.
Yeah, that would be a good signing. They play nice football. I think Leeds, I don't know if he'd get the game time, but if he went to someone like Leeds with Bielsa, think of what he's going to learn under Marcelo Bielsa, a class manager. But
if Rafinha goes, he'll slot in nicely.
Possibly we could work something there if we were linked with Rafinha, but
maybe send him to Wolves as part on loan as part of the Neto deal or something like that.
That would do nicely.
Or Villa for part of the Grealish loan deal or something like that.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, there we go. Now we're talking about that. I would love to see Grealish in there too. Looks like Lost ID got us the stats: 6 goals and 10 assists so far this season. And then Chris Welch agrees with us. He thinks that Elliott would need a loan spell at Premier League club. Completely agree.
Probably 7 of those assists were against Liverpool, weren't they?
Yeah. 2 of the goals as well.
Yeah, that game was brutal. But we've talked about a lot today. I think this was an awesome episode. Is there anything else you guys want to cover before we wrap up here? I know we talked about a lot.
Yeah, I just want to ask, has anyone seen much of Van den Berg? Remember he went out on that loan deal. He's been starting a decent bit for them. I just want to see, has any of you made anything of him, or what do you think?
Well, I know he's been quite strong at right back, and he's had I think he's had 2 clean sheets or something in his games.
I watched him a few times. He doesn't look too bad.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's done enough to then warrant coming back to Liverpool and getting game time. I think he's. I think he's okay. I mean, the thing with Van den Berg is I remember when we signed him, we beat some big clubs to sign him. Real Madrid, Barca, they're all after him. It's just not. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's not settled in England, or he's just not he's not ducked to the water. I think with him it's the case of I can't see him having a future at Liverpool. I think he's going to be one of those players that probably gets stuck in the loan system.
Yeah.
Until we can get a fee from him, I just don't see it. I think
I'm
for
hopeful for him. I'm hopeful.
It'd be great if he could, but because I had felt that our future was going to be Van den Berg and Hover at centre back. Obviously, because I think I was thinking that Hover should never been sold, because I think he has it all. So I was surprised that we sold him. I think he's very good.
We probably needed to use him to get the Jota deal over the line. I'd say if they were really pushed, they didn't want to get rid of him, but he was probably the ceiling point of that Jota deal. So, if I had to guess on that.
And actually, before we close too, there's actually one other thing I wanted to bring up in terms of outbounds in the summer. Because obviously, I think we can all agree that we need more people that we can rely on to stay healthy and to contribute to this team. So, do you guys think that either guys like Joel Matip, even Nico Williams with some of his performances, his up and down season, Shaqiri, Ox, Origi, do you think any of those guys will be on the team next year?
No. What's even some of them? Are they going to even garner enough value to sell them? Is it going to be worth our while? They're not on. I think Matip, though, definitely. He's just made of glass. I think he looks like he might settle down, go off to Turkey or something, play a nice bit of slow football. Oxlade-Chamberlain, yeah, just another guy. They're all made of glass, really. I don't know if they're being overworked because they haven't been playing too much game time, so I don't know what it is. But yeah, FSG, they're going to have to sell if they want to produce some money because they will not be putting the hands in the wallet unless they're putting money in.
I think Ox still. I think he's done at Liverpool. His career's over. The fact that he's not even getting. He's been fit for weeks now and he's barely getting minutes. And when he has played, he's been shocking. So I think he's done, But I think with Ox, I still think teams like Palace, Newcastle, Southampton will all be after him. So I still think you'll get at least 25 minutes for Ox.
Definitely. The thing with Ox is... Sorry, go on there.
No, go ahead, yeah. That's the only thing I was going to say. I'd get rid of Ox.
Just the thing with Ox, right? I think... I would as well. I think Ox is living off that...
Man City goal.
I think he's breaking up. Yeah, he's breaking up.
I'll say this. I'll get rid of Ox and I get Michael Olise from Reading because I think he's going to be the next
player. We're linked with him, I think. We're linked with him.
Yeah, he's only 8 million fee. And the kids, except for Elliot, no one else has got as many assists as him. Like the kids and chance of creation, I think for his age in Europe, there's no one has created as many big chances as Michael Olise in Europe.
Yeah,
it's a baller.
19.
I'm starting to see this kind of trend. I don't know, but they keep making these little small signs of young players and oh look, we signed him. We need a few big transfers because them little 2 million, 5 millions, they're future prospects. Are we going to have 2 starting lineups in 5 years? We need players now.
Did you see the thing that Carragher done on the Monday Night Football, where he said we need after the first Champions League, we brought in Fabinho, we brought in someone else. We haven't done that yet to give the team like Alisson, Fabinho, and Van Dijk that year. So it's kind of we haven't done that yet. This team have played so much football in the last 3 years. It's quite crazy. So we kind of need a whole shake-up, freshen up of some players and come in and improve the first team, not players to improve the bench as such. Because I don't think they expected Jota to come in and be as good as he did. I think he was brought in as backup for the front three, but he come in and has been amazing. So I think I think we need, like I said, I think FSG back Klopp massively in the summer.
Yeah.
I think we see a few of the Deadwood go in, the Matips, the Origis, the Adrian, the Shaqs. I love Ox. I think Ox will go, and I think we'll see a completely rejuvenated Liverpool team coming in. But like someone said earlier, with regards to the Euros, it doesn't really give Klopp likes a full pre-season with his guys, and I think that could play a part in who we sign.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too with the Euros. But then you also think about the guys we have out on loan. Grujic, he's probably going to try and find a permanent home for Grujic, Harry Wilson, those guys. So I think a lot of what we do this summer is going to depend on, obviously, and as we know, what we're able to sell, what we can recoup with those funds. So interesting.
Before we wrap up, did you see that stat, that quote? Chris Welsh said that Premier League clubs are expecting a full stadium for the start of next season, according to the Mirror.
Yeah,
it's good, isn't it?
Please God.
Thank God, we need that. That'd be great, because then I can come out to the UK and actually go see a match. I was supposed to do that when COVID started, and now
Same here.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, last time I was there, it's been a decade since I was there. Watched the game. I saw Stevie G score a couple of goals against Hungary for England. That was fun. But yeah, I got to get back out there. So, but this was an awesome show, guys. Everyone in the chat, you guys were absolutely on fire. If you haven't yet, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel and go check out the Near Post podcast as well. Those guys are doing some awesome work. Liverpool fans, definitely go give them a like and subscribe. But Near Post guys, Tommy, thanks so much for joining us. We're definitely have to have you guys on again because this was an awesome episode. You guys brought some great insight, and would definitely love to do this again with all three of you guys. So we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, cheers for having me, guys.
Awesome.
Nice to meet you, boys.
Yeah, good to meet you guys. On the chat. You guys were on fire as always. We'll be back tomorrow or Sunday. I think probably Sunday for our pre-match of the Wolves game on Monday. So we'll tune into you guys then. Otherwise, up the Reds. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Take care.
Cheers, boys. See you later.
Cheers, fellas.
Up the